Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the weekly services of Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, frequently abbreviated to BBUUC. My name is Chris Kynes, and it is my pleasure to be your worship leader today. Some of you may remember our guest musician from previous services when he played with a group called A Swing and a Miss. More recently, he's been here as a soloist. It's a joy this morning to welcome back to BBUC Bill Kane, playing the vibraphone. His first piece is a timeless Beatles tune released in 1965, In My Life. Bill? Ooh, I love you more. Thank you, Bill. That was wonderful. The opening words, titled Agape Love, are by author, educator, and librarian Monica Clark Robinson. Love is the doctrine of this church. Many UU churches begin services with this phrase, and it's a worthy principle. But can we go further? Can we try? There's a word I invite you to contemplate this morning, agape love. A radical, quiet, boundless, unconditional love. Agape love is the love we have for God, the universe, the interconnected web, or for whatever words for spirit that makes your soul sing. Agape is also the love Spirit has for us. And if we can find God in the faces of everyone we see, we can have agape love for others, and even imagine for ourselves. Then we'll understand that our worth doesn't depend on how many Valentines we got, or if our girlfriend thinks we're cute, or if our mother said, I love you enough. Can we let everything that isn't capital L love, fall away just for a while and try, as the song says, to hold the whole world in our hands? Can we love ourselves enough to remember that we too are divine? Can we love others enough to care deeply about what matters to them, even if we don't understand it? Can we love the world enough to give part of ourselves in service, even in sacrifice to its wholeness? Can we love spirit enough to let it in when it comes knocking, as it is right now, in this moment? Come in, love, and welcome. As the song leaders come forward, please turn to number 298 in the gray hymnal and rise in body or spirit to sing Wake Now My Senses. And we'll sing all 5 verses. I'd like to invite Beth Curtis, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, to the pulpit for our Time for All Ages.
Today, we're going to explore feelings like love, happiness, anger, and empathy by telling a story together. When I pause, I want you to show me how you're feeling by using hand gestures. Let's all practice. Angry. Oh, I get that. I get what, angry. Okay. Happy or loving. Okay, empathy. Can anybody tell me what empathy is? feeling for others. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they feel empathy, they actually hold their heart because they're actually feeling what the other person is feeling. Okay, so we're going to tell a story. Like, maybe you've heard this one before, but probably not quite told this way. Once upon a time in a peaceful forest, there lived 3 pigs and a wolf named Walter. Now, Walter, he wasn't scary. He was a vegan who taught yoga for woodland creatures. Walter decided to go door to door one day to tell his neighbors about a new course he was offering, breathing boldly, stress relief for woodland types. Also, in a basket, he brought complimentary aromatherapy gift sets for his neighbors. Walter was a thoughtful guy, but he was pretty shy. The pigs, on the other hoof, well, let's say they were a little extra. They weren't bad, just full of opinions and quick to judge people. Walter approached pig number 1's house, stylishly made of straw. Being shy, he got a little bit nervous, and he remembered his breathing practice. Okay, let's all practice like Walter, okay? Inhale and exhale with determination. Whoosh! He let out his breath with too much gusto, and the straw flew everywhere. Pig number 1 shrieked, "Walter, you monster, you blew down my house." Walter, confused and nervous, found himself tongue-tied. He managed to, "I'm sorry." But by that point, pig number 1 was running to pig number 2's house, yelling, "The lousy wolf blew down my house, that rat, that fink." How does the pig feel towards Walter right now? Is he angry? Is he feeling love? Is he feeling empathy? I think everyone agrees. He's feeling pretty angry. But does the pig really understand what happened? No. So Walter followed pig number 1 to pig number 2's house, a modern masterpiece made of sticks, to apologize. Knowing that pig number 1 was already angry, he was extra nervous. And he was sure if he gave the pigs their complimentary aromatherapy gift packages, he would be forgiven. But for confidence again, he practiced his breathing. Inhale and exhale with a lot of confidence. The sticks collapsed like Lincoln logs. "My house!" yelled pig number 2. "You wolves are all the same. You are bad, 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 bad news. You always have been." Oh, Walter was beside himself. I was just trying to. But by that time, the 2 pigs had already run to pig number 3's house. How do we feel towards Walter? Are we angry? Do we have empathy for him? We feel kind of bad because even though he could probably be a little bit more careful with his breathing, he's learning and he made an honest mistake. Walter approached the brick house that pig number 3, an architectural genius, had built to apologize. He was hoping that they would accept his apology and his gift, so he tried one last relaxing breath. Inhale and exhale with calm. And this time it was just a soft breeze. He had finally mastered it, and he felt calm. But from inside the house, Walter heard, "We know your type, Walter. You are a walking, house-crushing agent of chaos. You are bad news. Go away." But Walter, now calm, was able to explain. "I'm so sorry. I blew your house down. It was an accident, and I apologize. I was practicing my breathing, and well, I just wanted to tell you about my new class. It's all about calming tools. It's about deep breathing, and it works when I do it carefully. Plus, I have complimentary aromatherapy gift packages for each of you. They include lavender and chamomile. How do we feel now towards Walter that he's calmer and able to explain himself? Are we angry? Do we have empathy for him? Maybe a little bit, but also we're happy for Walter, right? He's able to calm himself down and make an apology and help straighten things out. Well, let's see what happened. Pig number 1 peeked through the window. Wait, were you really just breathing? Pig number 2 looked through the window. And you brought chamomile? He loved chamomile. The pigs took a deep breath and exhaled with calm. Okay, maybe we judged too fast. The pigs came out and said, Walter, we didn't understand. We just saw what happened and assumed you were doing it on purpose. We're sorry, too, for all the things we said about you. Walter smiled. Thanks. And I will continue to work with the gentle exhales. And together they rebuilt a more wind-resistant straw and stick house. And then they held a forest-wide breathing circle with chamomile tea supplied by Walter. Sometimes people and wolves do things we don't understand. But if we pause, we breathe and listen, that's all part of empathy. We just might build something even better together in the end. The end. As we pass the flame of religious exploration from one generation to the next, I invite Aubrey up to come and light the children's chalice. The congregation may remain seated as the children proceed to their classes and sing hymn 413, Go Now in Peace.
Ellen Maselli will light our chalice this morning as we listen into the chalice lighting words, The Spark of Love by Anastasia Brioche. The spark of love resides in us all. We are free to act from it or not. If we choose love, how will love shape what we do? If we choose love, how will it improve our actions? If we choose love, how will I treat those around me? If I choose love, will I find it when life gets hard? If I choose love, will you also choose love? Love begets love, and it is love that lights our chalice. Thank you, Ellen. We have chosen to bring ourselves here to this sanctuary to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. We draw on experiences of love and wonder to lift our hearts and move us beyond the mundane as seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, and creators of connection. Our paths have converged today so that we might become present to the spirit that is worship. And so let us worship together. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join me in singing the call to worship. The words are printed in your order of service. Welcome again, everyone. I would like to extend a special greeting to those who are new or newcomers this morning or guests. We hope that you will stop by our welcome table for a name tag and so we can greet you by name. That's where you'll find information about our congregation and Unitarian Universalism. You can also find out about our regularly scheduled Learn About UU classes and our Learn About BBUC classes. If you have questions, please feel free to ask any of our members, for all of us were visitors before we became acquaintances. And we invite you to stay after the service for fellowship, including coffee and other beverages, refreshments, and conversation. If you want to know more about what's happening at BBUC, please see your order of service or check your email for our weekly and monthly newsletters. You can also read the bulletin board out front for current information and updates on our community's many activities and events. A grateful thank you to all of our volunteers who make our Sunday worship service, religious education classes, and fellowship hour happen. Whether it's your first time in worship with us or your 100th time, we hope that you will find here questions that stretch you, people that befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. May we root ourselves in the values of this faith, a faith based on covenant rather than creed. Our congregation's covenant can be found printed inside of the order of service. Let's recite it together. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so that we may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. Thank you, Bill. Timeless classic. Beautiful. We pass the plate during our worship service to make a community expression of thanks for the blessing of abundance, to visibly bring in the harvest at this most cherished hour of our week. We know that our financial contribution to this congregation came from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure that the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. Today's offertory ushers are John Wrightington and Bruce Crystal. May the offering sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope. The offering will be followed by hymn number 123. Today's reading is a prayer by Laura Jean Truman, author of the book, The Gospel of Being Human. Keep my anger from becoming meanness. Keep my sorrow from collapsing into self-pity. Keep my heart soft enough to keep breaking. Keep my anger turned towards justice, not cruelty. Remind me that all this, every bit of it, is for love. Keep me fiercely kind. Amen. The Reverend Carmen Emerson has been in covenant with Buckman Bridge as our affiliated community minister since 2019. She was ordained in 2010 after earning a Master of Divinity from Andover Newton Theological School. She is in full fellowship with the Unitarian Universalist Association and a member in good standing of the UU Ministers Association. She is certified in conflict management by Lipscomb University and recently completed a certification in moral injury through the Shea Institute for Moral Injury. She currently serves as the Spiritual Support Services Coordinator for the Baptist Health System in Northeast Florida. There is more about Reverend Emerson in the order of service. Today's sermon is titled Empathy for What It's Like to Be Outside Our Own Heads. Reverend Carmen, the pulpit is yours.
Thank you. I feel like I should apologize in advance for the title of the sermon. It's like when I get an insomnia order from Amazon, I'm like, how did that happen? So I think that, Linda, I must have emailed you the title of the sermon during, the fierce throes of insomnia. But I hope I'll tie it all together. So thank you for indulging me in that. I'm struggling. I am struggling. Perhaps you are struggling too. Each day, as more deranged and ridiculous things happen in our city, our state, and our country, I am outraged by the corrupt and corrupting events that feel frustratingly beyond my influence or control, events that violate what social psychologist Jonathan Haidt refers to as the shared moral foundations of Americans: care, fairness, liberty, loyalty, authority, and sanctity. Like other liberals in my circle of friends, I am really tuned in to care, fairness, and liberty. And although we are accused of being oblivious to loyalty, authority, and sanctity, these days I find myself yearning for an uncorrupted loyalty to our democratic principles, yearning for the uneroded authority of the rule of law, imperfect as it may be, yearning for an unwavering sanctity for our amended Constitution. As the impact of the deranged and ridiculous ripples through the smaller and more immediate communities of which I am a part, loneliness and heartbreak are added to my feelings of outrage and frustration. I am struggling to remain connected to people I once trusted or to whom I once felt close, people who now seem to me to be indifferent to moral reasoning and irrationally content to reject reality in defense of and in service to a particular worldview that I find short-sighted, selfish, cruel, dangerous, and even ignorant. In addition to being outraged, frustrated, lonely, and heartbroken in this struggle, I am indignant to discover that they feel just as contemptuously towards my moral worldview as I do towards theirs. But what are they even talking about? How could this be when I know that I am right and they are wrong about all the things about which we are in disagreement? From my place of certainty, I keep desperately trying to provide one more factual example to trigger a change of mind, one more shameful example to inspire a change of heart. Surely this latest violation of dignity will be the one thing that makes them finally say, I was mistaken, I was wrong about this, you were right about this, I am so sorry. So far, they have never said those things to me. So far, I have been unable to say those things to them. These are scary times when beliefs and alternative truths eclipse facts. Shame never changes anyone for the better. Our respective beliefs and certainties become stagnant. The needle never moves. relationships continue to crumble, and each indignant side perpetuates high conflict. What is high conflict? High conflict is a conflict that becomes self-perpetuating and all-consuming, a conflict in which almost everyone ends up worse off, in an us versus them, good versus evil kind of feud that collapses into dehumanization of the other side. In high conflict, civility and the normal rules of engagement no longer apply, and because the stakes are so high, the righteousness so ingrained in a person or in a group of people, they engage in indefensible behaviors that are actually contrary to the values and virtues they believe themselves to be defending. I have an example of this. I may have shared this with some of you in the past. This is a true story shared by my friend Sharon, who I know from the UU Church in Orlando. Sharon was a volunteer escort for women seeking reproductive health care at Planned Parenthood Clinic in Orlando. One day, Sharon was at the clinic. She and her patient were blocked by a protester as they attempted to walk to the entrance of the clinic. So waving a Bible in one hand and a placard in the other, the protester began screaming blatant lies at both Sharon and her patient, attempting to shame the woman from accessing care in the clinic. Noticing the protester's young daughter watching her mother's behavior, Sharon addressed the mother, you know that what you're screaming is simply not true. Why are you lying in front of your daughter? The mother responded, because I'm lying for God and that makes it okay. In high conflict, the normal rules of engagement no longer apply. We find ourselves entrenched in binary us versus them, good versus evil sides. And from our righteousness, from our certainty, we become willing to dehumanize other human beings, actually forfeiting our dignity, worthiness, and compassion in the process. You never dehumanize someone else without doing that to yourself. Other characteristics of high conflict are rigidity, that inability to acknowledge when the other side says something or does something with which we actually agree, but man, we cannot acknowledge that. Limited emotions about the topic or person, another characteristic. Predictability towards a particular outcome. Assumptions about the other person's values or motives. Perpetuating the fight for the thrill of the fight or to maintain relevance, joy at any misfortune that strikes the other side, zero-sum thinking, that's that either-or thinking, and at worst, violence in word or in deed towards those you have dehumanized. If we are interested in justice and peace in our personal and collective lives, developing an awareness of these high conflict characteristics is really important. And it's important also to have an awareness of the 4 known accelerants in high conflict situations, fire starters that speed up conflict and spread it around. The 4 accelerants of high conflict are group identity, conflict entrepreneurs, humiliation, and corruption. So group identities are part of those infinite number of identities within each of us, arranged in a hierarchy that changes all the time. Think of the groups that you identify with and ways in which your loyalties to a particular group influence your participation in, your commitment to a conflict that group finds meaningful. Conflict entrepreneurs are people who exploit conflict for their own ends, people who delight in each new plot twist of a feud, are quick to validate every lament, to articulate wrongs no one else even thought of. When we want to transform conflict from high to healthy, it is wise to keep conflict entrepreneurs at a safe distance. Humiliation is a forced public degradation and unjustified loss of dignity, pride, or status. Shaming is a tool of humiliation, but as I said earlier, it never truly works in changing a mind or a heart for good, especially in people who just don't care at all about what we may think of them. And because shaming is an extreme form of social rejection, it can actually embolden people from the opposite side, bringing them closer together in fear or anger, affirming their beliefs, cementing the division. So the fourth accelerant is corruption. And we may think of corruption as something that happens at levels way above us, something that has infected a system or a group, that in turn perpetuates high conflict among individuals. A way to understand corruption a little closer down to earth, a little closer to home, is to think of corruption and complicity. In what ways are my words or deeds complicit in increasing or extending or accelerating high conflict? So I want to pause for just a moment before we shift to healthy conflict. We've talked about a lot. We've identified the characteristics of high conflict as binary thinking, righteousness, absolute certainty, rigidity, limited emotions like not being able to move past feelings of anger or a long game need for retribution. Also, predictability of an outcome based on assumptions about others' motives, the thrill of the fight, fueled by a need for relevance, either or zero-sum thinking, dehumanization, and the potential for violence. So those are all characteristics of high conflict situations. We also identified the four accelerants of high conflict, including group identity. We understand that. That is about the power of belonging, and we're wired for that. But it can be an accelerant of high conflict. Conflict entrepreneurs who exploit conflict to meet their own needs. Humiliation and shaming, and don't forget Satan's little helper in this, social media. And finally, complicity in corrupting others' faith and trust in something or someone based on the perseveration of a narrow narrative presented as absolute truth. So now that we've considered what high conflict is and how it can be accelerated, I want to spend the rest of our time together talking about healthy conflict and ways that we can transform from high conflict to healthy conflict using the covenantal spiritual practices of our shared Unitarian Universalist values. There are differences. I know some of us, we were talking before the service about the different conflict management styles, and I know some of us just hear the word conflict and we back away, we just say all conflict is bad, all conflict is bad. But there is actually healthy conflict. So here are some of the differences. High conflict is about stagnation. It goes nowhere because the conflict is the destination. Healthy conflict is about growth, about transformation, about movement. It actually leads somewhere useful because it feels more interesting, more meaningful to get to the other side of it than to stay in it. Healthy conflict can be serious and intense, but it does not collapse into dehumanization. High conflict is about being right no matter the cost. Healthy conflict is about understanding. Even if you cannot forgive or befriend the person with whom you have been in conflict. There are multiple components to practicing healthy conflict, beginning with investigating the understory. Investigating the understory is about getting underneath all the usual talking points of a conflict, getting to the heart of the matter through active listening to the personal stories shared by others as experts of their own experience. Each one of us is an expert of our own experience. Investigating the understory is really essential to all the other components of healthy conflict, and I'll tell you, if we can't get this one, we won't get any of them. To get to the heart of the matter requires vulnerability and sharing one's personal stories, including our hurts and our hopes, and it requires that discipline, humility, education, and empathy be present in our active, intentional listening. Active, intentional listening means listening without interjections, disruptions, defenses, blaming, or attack, and includes looping or reiterating what the other person has said and confirming that your summary of what you've heard is right. You may have experienced looping or active listening when someone says, and this is there's another chaplain in the room today, so I know they're going to laugh when I say this, but when we say, what I hear you saying is, my words or my behavior hurt you. But this is a form of active listening, like you listen and then you say back, what I hear you saying is, my words or my behavior hurt you. And again, active listening, there becomes no defense of your intentions. I didn't mean to. You just stop with the acknowledgement of what you heard, that the other person has actually risked sharing. I want to note here that listening does not mean agreeing. Listening does not create false equivalencies. Rather, investigating the understory means going deeper, again, getting curious about what lies underneath what they've said. This is important because listening to another precedes understanding. And understanding precedes being heard by another. That's an earful, so let me break this down a little bit. Understanding people doesn't change them. It's not nearly enough. But almost no one changes until they feel heard. People need to believe you understand them, even as they realize that you disagree, before they are able to hear you. If we understand another's moral story, we can make what we say hearable. And somebody's always got to go first. The covenants we make between and among ourselves, centered in love, that agape love as the spiritual discipline of our faith, help to create a safe and sacred space for the telling of and the listening to the understory with all of its emergent revelations and discoveries. We are called to the vulnerability and humility of investigating the understory by our UU value of interdependence and sustained by its covenantal practice to repair harm and damaged relationships. Even when you are attempting to investigate the understory with someone who is not a UU, our shared UU values and covenantal practices can still guide your engagements in those relationships and your responses to the struggles inherent in them. The second component of healthy conflict is reducing the binary, avoiding that temptation of either or, us, them, good, evil narratives. We do this by strengthening our capacity to live with the ambiguities and the complexities of life. We're called to this by our UU value of transformation and sustained by its covenantal practice of adapting to the changing world. The third component of healthy conflict, no surprise, will be marginalizing the fire starters, minimizing our reliance on exclusive group identities, our indulgence in conflict entrepreneurs, our conflict avoidant acceptance of the humiliation of others, and our unexamined complicity in high conflict. We are called to this by our UU values of justice and equity and sustained by their covenantal practices to dismantle systemic oppressions and help others thrive with dignity, love, and compassion. The fourth component of healthy conflict is buying time and making space, creating a way when there seems like there is no way, by creating genuine and positive interactions to counter the negative ones, by interrupting cycles of high conflict with curiosity, and by doing everything that you can do to make, curiosity contagious. Complaining is contagious. You ever been around people that are kvetching and complaining? It gets contagious, right? And you can just suddenly feel a big ick because there's so much complaining. Curiosity is contagious too. And this is one of those things that you can do if you notice you're part of a group or sinking into that, here we go. Step into a different place and ask something from a place of curiosity. Don't get caught up in the complaining cycle. We are called to this UU value of generosity. We are called to this work of curiosity by the UU value of generosity and sustained by its covenantal practices of freely and compassionately sharing our faith, our presence, and our resources. The fifth component of healthy conflict is complicating the narrative. Complicate the narrative, meaning, ask those meaningful questions with genuine curiosity. Questions like, what is oversimplified about this conflict? What do you want to understand about the other side, and what do you want the other side to understand about you? Are there more than two sides? What's the question nobody's asking? What do you want to know about this controversy that you don't already know? Where do you feel torn? And one of the greatest things you can say in a moment of conflict, tell me more. So simple, tell me more. We are called to this work by our UU values of pluralism and sustained by its covenantal practice of sacred curiosity, learning from one another in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, embracing our differences with love, with curiosity, and with respect. Thank you for your attention today. I know that we've covered a lot of ground. I hope you feel comforted to know that you are not alone if you are struggling with those you've held dear as we navigate together a rapidly changing world that seems to be trying everything to shake our moral foundations. I hope you feel inspired to move from high conflict to healthy conflict, called by our UU values and sustained by their covenantal practices. I believe it actually is possible to make that move, especially when we learn and we practice together. So I will now give you a shameless plug for next Saturday's Transforming Conflict workshop. There's a table at the back. You can register. You can also register online. But I hope we'll see you at next Saturday's workshop about conflict transformation. And in the meantime, may we continue to live our UU values with faith, hope, and love today and always. Blessed be and amen.
Will the song leaders return to the dais as we turn to number 108 in the gray hymnal? And please rise once again for the closing hymn, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, all three verses. As Ellen returns to the chancel to extinguish the chalice, please hear our closing words by Frank O. Holmes, titled New Acts of Courage. Life does not call us merely to do over and over again what we have already done, nor does it call us to act out as puppets, parts already assigned to us. No, in the midst of a situation which in it is itself ever-changing, we are free to bring into realization new relationships of understanding and goodwill, and new acts of courage. Until we come together again, I bid you peace, amen, namaste, and blessed be.